Welcome to another episode of Tips from My Garage. My name is Lisiate Tonga. I'm a recovering addict, father of two boys, husband to beautiful wife, and owner of online business Upgrade Version U.0, and author of ebook Q&A Between Two Addicts. And today I want to talk to you all about motivation. So I guess the question is, how do you stay motivated? How do I stay motivated? I guess I'll answer that question as well, how what I do to stay motivated. And I would also be interested to know how you stay motivated. But specifically, I want to know more about how you stay motivated when you're tapped out, and how you stay motivated when you just don't want to be. And thirdly, how do you stay motivated when no one is looking? I really want to cover those three areas because I think it's pretty easy to stay motivated when everything is going well. And so I find it easier to stay motivated when I'm in a good mood, when everything at home is settled, when the family is settled, when work is settled, when I have enough energy. It's pretty easy to stay motivated for me personally. I do know that some people it's easier to be motivated, and others not so easy to stay motivated. I don't know if that is something built in or innate for some people. I do know, however, that people do work at being motivated. They work hard at it. So if they are motivated, and if you know people that are motivated and are always motivated, it's a good chance that it's something that they've honed in on. They've dialed themselves in. It has been a focus for them. And when you are self motivated and you are continually having to find motivation even when it's not there, I think it does get easier. It gets easier for some people. So on the one hand, it can be easy for people to be motivated. Circumstances can provide a situation or scenario or a circumstance where it's easy for you to be motivated. But what I really want to know is, or what I really want to talk about is, how do you get motivated when you're tapped out, when you don't have energy? I feel like being a dad of young children at a later stage in life, and I say later, but I do know, well, most people that I know have had their children when they were younger. My parents were really young when they started having children. When we came into the world, they were really young parents. I didn't become a dad until I was 42 years old, and I became a dad again when I was 47 years old. And I'm 49 now, and I feel, if I'm honest, I do feel a little bit tired, and my workload, it has seemed a bit hectic. That has added to the pressures, and also has contributed to the depleting of energies that I have, and home life, and trying to keep myself healthy, fit, and strong. That takes energy out of me, and just trying to be present as a dad. I feel like all of those things together collectively on a day by day basis for an extended period of time has made me a bit tapped out or burnt out, a bit tired. But it just is what it is. It's just the hand that um, I was dealt. Well, the hand that I chose, I should say. It was my choice to start later on in life. I could have started earlier in life, but I didn't. I waited till I was older to start having a family, and these are choices that I made, and I put myself in a circumstance where I would burn myself out a bit more than perhaps a younger dad that has more vibrancy and more energy. So I don't want to put that blame on anybody else, but I do feel a bit tapped out. But at the same time, it just is what it is, and I have to get on with it. Because if I don't, then everything else around me suffers. Everything that is within my responsibility, my realm of responsibility, within my control, within what I have um, an effect on, is is impacted by that. Whether I have energy or not, it's impacted. If I have energy, it's a good impact. If I don't have energy, it's not a good impact, and that can manifest in different ways. But I do prioritize my energy and my self-care to ensure that I have the motivation, the energy to meet my responsibilities and to make things work, and not just to make things work in a survival sort of a sense, but rather make things work so that we are in a good situation, that it is a positive situation, that the pers- the outlook or the perspective is and one of abundance and not one of scarcity. It's coming from a position of strength and not fragility, not being, I don't want to say hopeful. I don't want to hope things are good. I want to make sure that things are good. And I think that the way that I make sure that things are good is to dig deep enough to find the energy to make everything work, to meet all my responsibilities, to ensure that every part or aspect that I have control over is good and positive and sturdy and steady. And I guess, I don't know, for me, it's just, that's really interesting. I'm just sitting here thinking, how do I stay motivated? And I'm like, I want to have some sort of answers, like, do this, and this. I mean, I guess I could say self care is one of the best ways for me to stay motivated. Or perhaps I'm just motivated by the fact that if I'm not motivated and if I don't meet my responsibilities, then everything will fall down around me. I think that keeps me motivated. I would say that. I would say I'm not willing to let things go downhill or spiral out of control. I'm not willing to allow things to get that way. So I make sure that I'm ready for and up for the challenge, whatever that may be, and that I have enough inside me to be able to meet all those challenges, whatever they may be. But I think the motivation actually comes from my family, my love for my family, wanting to make sure that they are well and taken care of. And I think that also comes from I guess, my own self worth. I want to feel good about myself. And so I feel good about myself when I do hard things. And when I do hard things and I overcome them, that gives me energy, that gives me motivation. And so I guess for my self-worth, I look after myself physically and mentally and spiritually. I try to meet all those aspects of my life, of me, what makes up my soul, my body, my mind, and my spirit. I try to keep all of those things intact and progressing. I'm always trying to grow myself. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here. Yeah, but I think I think it's those things. I feel like if I don't look after myself, my mentality, my mental state, my spiritual state, and my physical state, then I will be letting myself down. And then if I let myself down, then I'll let everything else down around me. And that would be demotivating. And so I'm very motivated by the fact that what the way that I show up is going to affect everything else around me. And I have too much love for that, for everything around me to not look after myself, to make sure that I'm present for everything else around me so that I can lift everything around me and not be a burden on anything that I have an effect on, especially my family. I don't know if that's making any kind of sense or if I'm just rambling on here about motivation, but I feel like that was just really interesting just to sit here and try to study that out in my head. Well, what actually does motivate me? And so when I'm tapped out, I guess that is what motivates me. Yeah, and that motivates me as well when I don't want to be motivated. And I wonder if you feel like that sometimes, like if you know what I mean when I say like you don't want to be motivated. Like how do you motivate yourself when you don't want to be? Do you have moments in your life where you just are like I don't want to be motivated because it means that I have to dig deeper and I don't really want to do that because that's going to require some sort of effort on my part, and perhaps you feel like I've been giving too much and don't want to I don't want to be motivated right now. I wonder if that makes sense to any of you. I feel like that sometimes. I think like I don't want to be motivated because you don't want to have to face the reality of the responsibilities that you have. I think everybody feels that. I don't think you'd be human if you didn't feel that, actually, now that I think about it. I think everyone comes to a point where they just feel like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I think it's the same thing for me. What would motivate me what would motivate me to stay motivated if I don't want to be motivated is the same thing that motivates me when I'm tapped out. You've got a lot of responsibilities that you have to take care of, and you better find a way to do it. I think that's also why it's so important to look after yourself, to do self care, because I think that the better care you take of yourself in a physical sense, in a mental sense, and in a spiritual sense, the more motivated that you're going to be. If you can look after all those aspects of who you are and you feel good about yourself, then that will always motivate you to want to make everything else around you better. So how do you motivate yourself when no one is looking? When I think about recovery and when I think about the journey that I went on, going on another journey, the idea of changing direction and going on a journey that you've never been on and exploring the unknown, there's some excitement and motivation that comes from that. When the dust settles and everyone has congratulated you for making the change and going on this journey, when when there's no more pats on the back, and everyone else has gone their way and life has gone on and life keeps going. You're there still at the beginning of your journey, and you have to keep going, and there's there's no one there now. It's just you and the road in front of you, and everyone's gone and you're by yourself, and you've got to put the work in. And then you start putting the work in, and then it becomes repetitious, and then the novelty wears off, and then you come to the realization that, hey, this is a grind. This really is a grind. This is really, this is lonely. This is hard. You start to question yourself. You start to wonder what everyone else is doing. How do you stay motivated when no one is looking, and when the novelty has worn off, and all that energy that you had when you came to that point where you made that decision, and you told everyone what you were doing, and you had a celebration, and now you're on that trek by yourself. How do you keep yourself going? I don't know if there's an exact answer for you, if that's where you're at in your journey, because everybody is different. But one thing that is for certain is that you are responsible for your own motivation. There's no one else responsible for picking up the pieces and moving on. That responsibility falls to you. And if you're waiting for someone or something to come and blow wind in your sails, you're going to get burnt by the sun, because no one's coming. And if you start putting the blame on somebody else, then you're going to cripple yourself. If you're going to wait around for something external to push you along the way, to motivate you, you'll cripple yourself, because no one's going to come and do that. I think you'll have a better chance of people coming and accepting you back into your old lifestyle, the one that has been damaging and destructive to your well-being, and would continue to be if you allowed it to. You have a better chance of being seduced by them to come back to your old life than you would having somebody come along and push you along the way. So don't wait for that. And actually, one thing you can do is to have perspective. And I guess what I mean by perspective is, if you're confronted with a situation where you have a lack of energy, where you feel tapped out, or you don't want to be motivated, or no one is looking, or you don't have anybody to around to motivate you, that is your opportunity to build your character. And so look at if you look at that circumstance as an opportunity to build yourself up, that that perspective will change your attitude towards it, because you think of it as an opportunity that you're going to gain something from. And what you're going to gain from that is resilience, is strength, is going to build your character, is going to build you up, it's going to make you a stronger person, a more resilient person, that's going to be able to handle more difficult situations when they come up again. The problem with not being able to take or look at these situations or circumstances as an opportunity and look at them more as a hindrance is that if you don't learn the lesson and if you don't grow from it and if you you aren't able to deal with that situation in the most constructive way, then you're going to be forced to deal with that situation or circumstance again at another stage, at a later stage. But every time that you deal with it and aren't able to deal with it the best way, and in fact, if you deal with it and it becomes a negative experience for you, it becomes more damaging. It can be more, it does more damage to you. So then you're less resilient. So then you can become resentful. So then you could become disheartened. So then you that can introduce a whole slew of different thoughts into your mind, negative thoughts into your head that can put you into a downward spiral, and it just becomes, it could get messy, and it could just be the reason why you might go back to your square one. But if you look at that, if you have the perspective like this is your opportunity to get something from it, to become more than than you currently are, because the truth of it is you will become more if you're able to deal with that situation successfully. You become more. And to me, that's an exciting thing to look forward to. You know, if when you get into a difficult situation, it's like, okay, you know, the question isn't, oh, what am I doing here? The question is becomes, okay, I'm here. What's the best way for me to deal with this circumstance? Do you see the difference in the perspectives that you have there? They're going to determine your attitude that you're going to have to deal with the situation, and that'll either impact you negatively or positively. But that will depend on the way that you question it. When you come to that fork in the road, when you come to that situation, the perspective, look at it as an opportunity to grow, to build your character, to do something perhaps you've never done before and become more resilient, become stronger, become more patient, whatever the lesson is that you'll learn from it. That's the perspective. You know what the lesson will be. You deal with that appropriately. You come through. Lesson learned, strength gained. Conversely, you come to that fork in the road, you question why you're there. Wrong question, because then your brain's going to try and answer that in the most unproductive way and counterproductive way possible. Your brain will go in the wrong direction. What am I doing here? Like, this isn't what I asked for. This is way harder than I thought it was going to be. What are my friends doing? Why did I decide to go on this road? It's very lonely. That's the kind of, you ask yourself the wrong question at the fork in the road, you're going to go off the track. And that, if that becomes a negative experience, there's no growth there. That actually only hurt you. So you have a choice. I think the other thing that you can do, you know, I said motivation is something that's going to come from within, but One thing you can do is you can put yourself or surround yourself with other people who are also motivated. Being around other people who are motivated is motivating. And if you can surround yourself with a group of people that are motivated, it's really kind of hard not to be. You've heard that birds of a feather fly together. You're going to be the sum of the five people that you're around. If the five people that you're hanging out with are motivated people, you're going to be, the fifth or the sixth person, the other one that's going to be motivated. The opposite is true. If you're going to surround yourself with unmotivated people, then you're going to be the next unmotivated person. You're going to be just like them. So surround yourself with people that are motivating. If you can't physically surround yourself with motivating people, then follow people online that are motivating. And there are so many people that are motivating online that are inspirational. There are people that I follow and I see them, they come up in my feed daily. Alex Hormozy is one person that I follow, and he is in my feed daily. And I am motivated by him daily. And I can't believe that there are people like that out there, but that will continually just put out motivating and inspirational content on a day by day basis. Chris Willink, he's another one, motivating. Um, there's so many. David Goggins, he's motivating to me. Follow these people. What I'm saying is find people that you resonate with, that you can follow, because they will provide motivation for you on a daily basis. I've felt flat on some days and just opened my phone, and because I follow good, solid people that I know that their content is going to be good, positive at all times, you're going to get that all the time. And you need to have that. And I guess I would say follow people online anyways that are inspiring and that are influencing you for good, that have your best interest at heart. Do that for sure. But it's always good to have people that you can be around physically that are also motivating, because they'll also help build up your motivation. Anyways, I hope that was helpful in some sort of way. I'm curious to know what motivates you. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you next time.
1, 2.